Yes, sir. You already know what time it is. Time for Sports Talk with Naj, where we keep it real and authentic. Break down football, basketball, and soccer. So, hey, man, stay tuned. Follow us on the socials, and make sure you tell a friend. Yes, sir. We'll see you on the other side. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Sports Talk with Naj. Today, man, we're going to be talking about some NFL news, of course. We got Roger Goodell talking about the Deshuan Watson situation, of course. And then we'll be talking about the kickoff of some of the games today. You got the Titans and the Ravens. You got the Giants and the Patriots are kicking off today. Games are actually going on right now, right this very second. So, of course, we're going to get into that. And then after that, we'll talk a little bit about Roquan Smith actually requesting a trade. And after that, we'll talk about Tom Brady actually going to be missing the rest of Tampa Bay camp up until August, I think around August 20th after their preseason game against Tennessee. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then, of course, we're going to jump into some NBA actions, some more KD news and drama. And then we'll talk about Scottie Barnes, of course, and his great pickup defense he had against James Harden, and what that all means going forward. And then we'll be talking about Dejounte Murray. Is he really doing too much in some of these pro-am games? You've seen some where he's kind of hit the guys in the head, and we've seen some where he's he's kind of trash talking the number one overall pick, and then we've seen some where he's just been disrespecting defenders. Seems like every pro-am game there's something. So we're gonna get into that. And after that, we're going to conclude with a top 4 prediction for me for as far as Prem goes for the season. And then I'll be getting into kind of the first week, what I saw, what kind of really stood out to me in the first week of Prem as we pick up action in the next couple of days. And then actually Timo Werner leaving for RB Leipzig in the Bundesliga. He's on his way out. So, that's pretty much final. And then after that, we'll get into who is the best team in baseball. And I'll give my argument for that. So, man, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it. So, getting it started for you guys, Roquan Smith has requested a trade from the Bears. Obviously, I think he is one of the best, linebackers in the game right now. Has been leading the league in tackles. Been doing a lot of good things for the Bears. And, he's really the cornerstone of that defense. It always seems like the Bears get one of those generational or one of those really great all-around linebackers, and whatever decade they're in. You have the Brian Urlachers, the Lance Briggs of the world, the Michael Singletaries, the Mike Ditkas, and then you're having Roquan Smith. So I think if you're the Bears, you got to pay them. I'm always up for players getting their money and making their money, of course. And I think Roquan Smith should, be able to get a deal. I think he's an all-around great talent, great player. And, of course, we know the Bears are kind of rebuilding now. I got Justin Fields in the second year under home, new head coach, new GM, kind of a whole new regime in Chicago. So, I think they should kind of try to solidify the defense. Obviously, he's one of their leaders. And I would sit down with him and have that talk, and I would really hash it out. I really would do that. And I would, honestly, I would say, hey, let's think about marking out a deal. We don't want to trade you. You are going to be one of the cornerstones for us to turn around this franchise. And let's see if we could talk numbers. If I was the Bears, I would do that. Now, keeping it moving, I got this actually from ESPN.com. NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says evidence calls for a 1-year suspension for Cleveland Browns QB Deshaun Watson. So this article is from Jeff Legwood, ESPN senior writer. Essentially, what he alludes to in the article, NFL Commissioner Roger Goodell says the league is seeking a tougher penalty for Deshaun Watson because the quarterback's actions were egregious and predatory behavior. Obviously they appealed Watson's decision, 6-game suspension that was by Sue L. Robinson earlier this month. And Ali meaning they called to formally approve Denver Broncos' new ownership this week, of course. But he says, basically in quote, what Goodell said, he says, we've seen evidence. She was very clear about the evidence. She reinforced the evidence. Goodell said there were multiple violations that were egregious, and it was predatory behavior. And then they appointed Peter C. Harvey, a former New Jersey Attorney General, to hear the appeal of Watson's suspension for violations of the NFL personal conduct policy. And then Goodell said Tuesday he did not know when Harvey would make a ruling. And he also, he addressed the sanctions for them. But I'll leave it at that. But anyway, just to kind of keep it going and keep it kind of simple, This was something I kind of clamored for. I thought the NFL should definitely had appealed Watson's suspension. I don't think 6 games was nearly enough. He did sit out last season, of course, but I think Cleveland kind of went in knowing that he wasn't going to be there, especially with only giving him $1 million essentially for the year. And then, of course, the contract they gave him is fully guaranteed $230 million. But he doesn't get the uptick in money, which is $40 million salary basically up until next year. So I think Cleveland went with the mindset, okay, hey, he's probably going to miss the whole season for us. So let's not put all this money up front for the first year. Let's, see what happens. So, I think overall, man, with everything that came out, it's tough because, one, he hasn't really showed any remorse. And then, of course, man, everybody makes mistakes, and you want to learn from it. You want to get your second chance, and obviously, I think Deshaun Watson is going to get a second chance. Of course, he has said that he did nothing wrong, but the cases are settled. Yada yada. But I would just say I think this is good on the NFL. I think it would be a bad look if they didn't appeal this decision, and I think it's best about, like I said, 12 to about 18 games just to suspend him for the season, because like I said, you don't want to kind of reward this kind of behavior, and the stigma with the kind of domestic violence and other things that NFL has had over the years hasn't been good for their brand. Of course, it's a $9 billion brand, but I think them coming to this conclusion, and we'll see what happens with the ruling and the suspension, and we'll see if it gets dragged out in the court. I think it was smart for Goodell to come out and say something against it, or just to say something about it, more or less. And I think we're going to see what's going to happen in a couple months. But, again, I think the NFL needed to get ahead of this. And like I said in one of my other podcasts, Sport Para, that they should have they should have done an indefinite suspension for him, because they didn't know, like, the whole things with the cases. Two dozen cases is a lot, man. 66 women, basically over that kind of time frame is a lot. So I think they should have got ahead of it, but now they are, and then we're going to see what comes of it. But nonetheless, I think it was right that Goodell actually came out and said something about it. And then our last topic for today, as far as NFL, we're going to be talking about Brady. Brady's actually going to be leaving camp. There's something that was already discussed according to head coach Todd Bowles. And actually what's going to happen with Brady is he's going to miss up until it's family-related issue. He's going to miss up until August 20th after the preseason game against Tennessee. I think, man, this is just a marking. He's 45 years old, wanted to go to the sport. 23 years he's been in the NFL. I just think this is one of the signs that this is probably going to be his last year. I really believe that. I didn't think so. I thought he was done after last year, but this year for sure. These are just one of the signs I definitely think so. And you want that life-work balance, of course. But he's been playing for so long, man. I know his kids have suffered from it, sacrificed. His wife, Giselle, has sacrificed from it. So obviously, I think this is probably his last go-round, and I think you'll see next year somebody suit up else in a Tampa Bay uniform. So if you see that next year, you can definitely bookmark this video. But nonetheless, I definitely think he should take all the time he needs. Of course, that's his personal life, his personal business, so I'm not going to touch on that. But nonetheless, man, hopefully he can come, when he comes back and gets ready for the last preseason game or whatever it is, or get ready right before those couple of season games. He comes in sharp, mentally ready, focused, like he always has been. And, we get a last good season out of him, because that's what I really think is going to be his last season. And I look forward to it, man. Of course, we've seen him over the years ball out in Tampa, ball out in, New England. And hopefully, man, he's able to do that, this season as well. And I'll leave it at that. Now, keeping it going, we got some more. We got some NBA news, of course. We got some KD news and drama. Actually, this kind of came out this past week. Basically, it was saying that Kevin Durant was kind of clamoring for Sean Marks, his GM, and then also Steve Nash wanted them to be fired, essentially. And then he re-emphasized his trade. So, of course, this is a report, so I'm not going to quote it or anything. I've seen this on Twitter, so I'm not going to say it's true. But if it is, like I said, it's tough. My personal opinion, I get why he wants out in one instance, especially with everything going on. But in other instances, I see like the organization, like they kind of already gave him everything he's wanted. They gave him, they brought him along with Kyrie. They traded for different pieces to bring in, DeAndre Jordan's, before he left, Blake Griffin's, when Harden wanted out, and then when they traded for Harden to come there. When he wanted out, they traded him. They kind of got the coach they wanted. When KD kind of came there, they had Kenny Atkinson, had their little young core going with Jared Allen, D'Angelo Russell, Karis LeVert, you know what I'm saying, and them boys. But, they had Kenny Atkinson as a coach, but they let him go, and then they brought in Nash. So, I mean, overall, man, it's just a tough situation. We'll kind of see what happens. KD is 33 years old, though, right now. He'll be 34 before the season even kicks off. So I think that says a lot. We'll see how much longer KD will play. Obviously, he's still an elite player, probably one of the best to do it. But the Nets are just in a tough situation because they capitulated to all his wishes, in my opinion. And now they find themselves in a rock and a hard place. Like, do you keep your coach and your GM you have now? And you might have to do a little bit rebuilding because if you trade KD, that's more than likely Kyrie's out after next season. But like I said, and you still got Ben Simmons, of course, but that's why I said if I was their GM, Sean Marks, I would sit them all down and say, hey, let's go another run at this, 1 year, and then, let's see what happens after that and talk. And then after that, I would trade him. You know what I'm saying? Him or Kyrie wants to leave or whatever and just rebuild. But my bigger standpoint from it is just like those teams, like sometimes it's not always good to chase a superstar. It is nice to have. It is a nice luxury to have. But you got to really think about, okay, if I have a nice young core team building, like let's say the Cavs right now is a great example of that. You got Darius Garland, Evan Mobley, Lauri Markkanen, Jared Allen is there, still kind of young. Colin Sexton, like they have a bunch of young pieces there, and they almost went to the postseason. They were as high as a 4 seed last year. So when you think about it, it's like I gotta really see is this really beneficial for my team long term? Because sometimes you could bring a superstar in there and they may land you a chip, which is of course what you want. But sometimes it's kind of at what cost? Like it might just be one chip, or it might not even be a chip at all. Like Brooklyn was kind of pegged as one of the best trios, maybe we have ever seen. And when they had landed Harden, Kyrie, and Durant. But of course it didn't work out. Egos got in the way and a bunch of other stuff, got in the way. A lot of drama got in the way. So, you got to really think about it. Is this what's best for my organization and for my team? Do I really have selfless, superstars? And will it mesh well? And I think more teams should definitely build around the current team they have. Of course, you want to get those, assets in there, but build around the team you have. And then, allow that to flourish. Because we've seen it with Golden State. Most of their core team before, of course, they landed players that came in. KD's came in the world. D'Angelo Russell's came in and they left. But the core three that's been there and got drafted, the Klay Thompson, Steph Curry, of course, the Draymond Green, they've been there. And they've kind of, other spots they kind of plugged and pulled, repeatedly, small forward, other positions across, for their team. And we see what that's landed them. It's landed them 4 championships. So I think when you build around your core team and you just kind of let it marinate, let it flourish, and you don't try to trade them young, I think you can kind of be the recipient of a lot of success. And, we saw this before kind of with OKC. Like, I think that's one of those teams that would have really figured it out. Of course, looking in hindsight, you might be like, nah, that wouldn't have worked out. But looking at it, a young KD, a young Russell Westbrook, and a young James Harden, I think they would have figured it out. They were already knocking on the door multiple times, and then they even got to a finals. A lot of people don't want to count it, but you did that. Like, they got to a finals against LeBron. Of course, they lost in a couple of games, but they got there. And I think just to let Harden go at that point I think it was at that point $2 million, in luxury tax or whatever, I would have just kept it. And that's just my whole thing, my cautionary tale to GMs and teams. If you got a nice young core, build around it, see what it can do, see how far, what's the ceiling of this core. And then, once you think you gotten everything or expunged everything out of that core, then you trade it. You know what I'm saying? So that's just a cautionary tale for GMs and organizations. But, we had a Rico Hines sequence of Scottie Barnes basically locking up James Harden. Honestly, and he even basically praised him and said, he picked me up from full court. And he said, I loved it. Basically, he was like just summarizing, paraphrasing. He's like, I love to see that. You know what I'm saying? That's what you want to see in things like this. And, I basically leave it at that, what he said. But I think he's right. I agree. I definitely think he's right. Scottie Barnes is a young player, second-year player. He's hungry. He wants it. And, if he's playing defense like that, that's going to make a difference for the Raptors. Nick Nurse is the coach. They got a nice young team. And that's what you want to see out of players. Like, of course, Harden's a veteran. And, nobody's going to back down to anybody. But you want to see somebody, if you go look at the tape and the highlight, if you see somebody doing that, playing hard, defending you hard, it only makes you, better. And that's what you want to do in these kind of things. You just see these little pro-ams and, little like summer league basketball. You just want to hone your craft and get better. So when the season comes, you know what I'm saying, you're at that point, your craft is kind of refined. Like, you know what you're going to do. Of course, you want to get better every day and stuff like that. But you want to make sure that your craft is kind of almost in a refined position where, you know what I'm saying, you know your go-to moves. You know what I'm saying? You know what you're going to bring to the table and to the court every night. And I think that's a great sign for the Raptors and for Scottie Barnes, young player. And I think, you know, he's poised for a good sophomore season. I really do. And I love the defense he was playing. He didn't allow anything. He did it without fouling. Aggressive. That's what you want to see. And I'll leave it at that. And our last topic is Dejounte Murray. Basically, man, we had a lot that came out this week of, you know, him basically calling out Paulo Banchero. And, you know, I'm not going to jump too much into it as far as drama standpoint of it all. But I don't know, man. He's kind of been doing a lot in these Pro-Am tournaments. I mean, you know, he had one, went between the dude's legs. He kind of had the other one. He's bouncing it on their head and then making a move. And then, you know, he threw the ball at Banchero too. So it's kind of like, that's cool. You know, I guess I'm just not used to really seeing that from him. I thought he was always a kind of a more reserved to himself player. At least when he was in San Antonio, that's what it seemed like. So, I mean, you know, we'll see what he brings to the court, of course, when it comes to the Hawks this season and see what their ceiling is and how they're going to perform and do, especially with some of the trades they made and things like that. But I don't know, man. I think he's just, of course, you want to be on the court and have fun. And it's competition. You want to be playing at your best. But I don't know, man. I just think he's doing a little too much, man. I just think it's unnecessary, man. You know, and you do that to any regular ball player, you know, you might be seeing a fight. But, I mean, of course, he's NBA. He's there for a reason. But yeah, I would say maybe he needs to just chill it a little bit on, you know what I'm saying, some of the extracurriculars, you know what I'm saying. But, of course, you know, he's a great player. You know, we'll see what he does this season. But, you know, he might just need to tone it down just a little bit. And I'll leave it there. And then we're going to get into transition to some soccer. Of course, we got some reaction to first week of Premier League. I actually won my fantasy game, so shout out to me. Yeah, I got a little fantasy league with some friends that we kind of created on the fly. That was a lot of fun. Some of my boys. So, yeah, I definitely appreciate them joining the fantasy league. And it's my first year actually playing fantasy soccer. So I've never done it before. But it's pretty cool. You know, I got picked up, I think, De Bruyne, Mo Salah, pretty decent defensive with Van Dijk and a couple other players. So I'm just trying to get more exposure to soccer. Of course, you guys know I really started following soccer heavy, like really last year. So, you know, my analysis of it is, you know, work in progress, trying to get better, trying to understand it more. Same with baseball. Just trying to take it slow, you know, game by game, day by day, and just, you know, trying to improve. But overall, my reaction to the first week of Prem, a great start for Erling Haaland. Had a brace in that win against West Ham. Played very well, knocked down the pin, and then had a great goal there. So, I mean, that's the start you want to see. I mean, obviously, this is a loaded talent team. They're one of the teams I have going in my top four and making even the Champions League that following season. But yeah, they just all around talented, man. Even though they lost a couple pieces, you know, Gabriel Jesus and they lost Sterling, they still have an overall talented team, and they're young. You know, they're very young. And, you know, they got De Bruyne as well. And they're going to be a team to reckon with for some years. And they definitely should be one of those teams that should be able to host at least a Champions League final trophy in the very near future. So, yeah, that really stood out to me. Solid win for my Chelsea team, you know, 1-0. You know, decent start to the season. You know, we'll kind of see what happens. You know, how these players kind of mesh, you know, and flow in, of course. You know, some changes we had this year. Lukaku left. Now we got Timo Werner out now. I'll get into that a little bit later. But, yeah, man, overall, decent first week. You know, great matchups. Really enjoyed watching them. And, you know, we got some matchups this week. We may have even an exit. PSG is actually interested in Marcus Rashford, so we'll kind of see what happens with that. But, yeah, action starts back up this week for the second week of 38. Basically, Arsenal is going to play Leicester City. Brentford plays Man U. Man City plays Bournemouth. Aston Villa plays Everton. Southampton plays Leeds United. Nottingham Forest plays West Ham. Liverpool, Crystal Palace. Chelsea plays Tottenham. Very big game on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. I'm definitely going to try to watch the kick for that one. That's going to be a huge game for us because Tottenham is another team I have in my top four. And last year they had a near almost top four finish. So that's a team to keep your eye on with Son Mang and Harry Kane and some of their great players on that side of it. But yeah, man, overall the fixtures were good, and the Liverpool and Fulham tie 2-2 kind of surprised me a little bit. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. Liverpool, I think, of course, they're a good team. They're one of the teams that have finishing actually outside of the top four. I think they're going to have a season, not a disappointing season, but maybe by their standard, disappointing. But I think they're going to have some teams that kind of fly under the radar here, I think, in the Premier League. And I think Arsenal is one of those. They're not my top four, but there was one of those sleeper teams, in my opinion. And I think there's somebody to keep your eye on. And, of course, Man United, 2-1 loss to Brighton. Very tough for them. I think overall, I just didn't like their lineup. Fred didn't play very well in that game. Ronaldo was benched. He didn't start. Harry Maguire looks very slow on the pitch. His pace is not very good at all. I think that says a lot. And, he's the captain. And I think Erik ten Hag may need to reconsider that, honestly. He's in this great league for a reason, but at the same time, he has not been performing well. Bruno Fernandes had missed a couple gimmies there for Man United, and it was just a tough start for them. Down 2-0, they lucked into an own goal by Alexis McAllister. And then Pascal Grobe had a brace. So, we'll see what happens with Man U. Of course, it's going to be a work in progress, but they're a team I got finished in my top four. I might as well go ahead and reveal it for you guys, but that's basically my week one reaction, what I took away from it. Man U's kind of disappointing start. And then Man City's, of course, in Erling Haaland's great debut, 2-0, basically win against West Ham. And then, of course, the tie by Liverpool. Tie with Liverpool and Fulham. Very surprising. But, yeah, my top four this year is going to be Tottenham. It's going to be Man City. It's going to be Chelsea. And then it's going to be Man United. Now, that may surprise some people because you'd be like, well, you don't have Arsenal in there. You don't have Liverpool in there. But I think Liverpool overall is a great team, but I just didn't like how their defense was in that game. They got superstars all over the field, of course. I'm not going to deny that. I'm saying on that team. Really great core team. Mo Salah's there, but I think they don't got Sadio Mane no more, who is playing for Bayern Munich. That's another great striker. But I just think they're just going to have one of those years. They're going to be, of course, in competition. I just think they're going to have one of those years with just a couple disappointing losses, and it's going to kind of take a toll. But, nonetheless, we'll see. But that's my top four. Tottenham, Man City, Chelsea, and then Man U. Man U's 4, Chelsea's 3, Tottenham's 2, and then Man City's 1. That is my top 4. And then keeping it moving, we have Timo Werner, like I said, exiting to RB Leipzig. He is out of Chelsea, and basically he returns to RB Leipzig from Chelsea in a deal worth up to $30 million. So it's reported by ESPN. He's on his way back. It's a permanent move for the 26-year-old. It's reportedly worth about the region of $30 million, as I alluded to. And then basically this is from Warner. Basically says, I'm very happy to be able to play for RB Leipzig again. Warner, who signed a 4-year contract, said, I had a great time here between 2016 and 2020 when we performed brilliantly as newcomers in the league. It was a dignified departure for me to leave the club as a record goal scorer, but that's in the past now, and I'm looking ahead because I and the club have developed in the past 2 years. I had great years at Chelsea, but I'm really grateful for, and we're crowned with the Champions League trophy. The experience to play abroad in a new league really helped me in my career, and now I'm looking forward to the new season with RB Leipzig, and above all, meeting the Leipzig fans again, who mean a great deal to me. We want to achieve a lot, and of course, I want to become the first Leipzig player to reach a 100-goal mark. So, overall, tough loss for us, but, we got to keep it pushing. We got to definitely Chelsea. We got to keep it pushing. And, I love what he brought to us. He did win the Champions League trophy with us. And, we're always one of those teams that's competing in the Premier League and the Champions League, which I love. And it's going to be an interesting season. Can't wait to see what Kai Havertz brings to the table, the development and growth of Reece James. And then, of course, how Sterling is going to fit into the fold, because we've been needing a striker for a long time. That's why we've lost some of our games, because defensive-wise, we will play well. We lost 2 European trophies last year, the FA Cup, and I think it was the EFA Cup to Liverpool because we couldn't score. 0-0, and then we lost in pens. So I'm curious to see what they can bring to the table. We've, of course, been adding some players, and I can't wait to see how they fit in the fold and how they're going to perform, because this is a big year for us, and I can't wait to see some of those moves they made and how they pan out. But we're going to leave it there. And our final topic for today, we're going to get into some baseball. Yes, I'm going to be debating between the Dodgers and the Mets, who is the best team in baseball. So honestly, man, the Mets right now are doing great. Right now, let's get the standings out for you guys. Give me 1 second. Yeah, right now the Mets are 73-39. They are 38-18 at home, 35-21 on the road, 8-2 in the last 10. Then you got the Dodgers, 77-33, 10-0 in their last 10, 40-15 at home, and then 37-18 away. So I mean, like overall, man, both of these teams, of course, are balling. Really, right now the Mets are set for 104 win pace. Their lead had kind of dropped against the Braves, but they basically took the 4 out of 5 games against the defending champs about a week ago. And they've been 12-2 ever since, man. So they've really opened the gap against the Braves. If you look at the standings right now, they're 73-39, and the Braves are 66-46. So they got a nice little cushion right now against the Braves and that NL East. And then as far as the Dodgers, you might as well say that division is almost pretty much wrapped up, even with the acquisition of Juan Soto and a great batting four in Manny Machado, Josh Bell, Fernando Tatis, and Juan Soto. But I think they got too much ground to make up. 77-33 for the Dodgers compared to 63-51 for the Padres. I mean, it doesn't sit well. I mean, about a month and a half-ish left in kind of the regular season. It's definitely not a good sign for them. And I just think overall, it's really hard to say with both of these teams. Both of these teams are playing absolutely great baseball right now. And for the Dodgers, they haven't missed the playoffs since 2012. And they are going on their 9th division title in the last 10 years. And, they've only and then out of those 10 years, they've only had one season in which they won 106 games when they didn't win 106 games. So they've made the NLCS 6 of the last 9 seasons, taking the NL pennant home 3 times. So obviously this is a storied franchise. And they've been performing well, And in their last 2 games in June too, they were on an outrageous stretch of 30-5. So they got a nice little win streak going. If I had to put my money on it and really say, I'm going to roll with the Dodgers right now. Love their lineup. Love what they bring to the table. Love Mookie Betts. Love how they've been playing lately. Freddie Freeman has been good as well. Clayton Kershaw right now is out on the IL, of course. But they just got a nice team, man. A good bullpen. I think this team is going to be one of those that probably the Mets are going to see in the later rounds in the NLCS and NL. Maybe even DS as well. So, we'll see what happens. Of course, I think the Braves, they may be able to make up the ground, but for the most part, they're probably going to be in a wild card position. But the Mets, man, you can't sleep on the Mets either, man. That pitcher they got is lethal, man. Jacob deGrom, I think it was the fastest to, I think it was like 1,500 strikeouts or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but he was like the fastest to I think over 200 starts, the fastest amount of strikeouts, I think in almost 200 starts. So that guy's a stud. That guy's a superstar, and they always seem to have great pitchers. And I think overall, man, that's what you need when it comes to October baseball. You need that, and he's been performing well. And I think this Mets team is different. I mean, if you look at their pitchers, Jacob deGrom, who's a superstar, still got Max Scherzer there, Edwin Diaz is there, just a lot of star players, man. You know what I'm saying? So, if I had to put my money on it, I'm going to go Dodgers. I think this is one of the years they got to win it. Last year, of course, they were in there. They were playing against the Braves. The Braves finally able to kind of exercise some of their demons and win. And I think overall, man, just, probably disappointing season for the Dodgers. But they did land one of the legendary players to ever probably put on the Braves uniform and Freddie Freeman. And we'll see kind of how it goes for them this year. But I mean, these two play in the NLCS. That's some exciting baseball. I'm not going to lie to you. So, we'll see what happens. We still might have some sleeper teams. I mean, don't sleep on the Braves. Don't sleep on the Padres. But if I had to say the best team in baseball right now, I'm going to roll with the Dodgers. Yep. And, guys, man, make sure you subscribe, you like, and you comment. And make sure you share, man. Definitely love doing this for you guys. And coming on here and doing these episodes. Definitely it's a lot of fun. It's a joy to do. So, excuse me on some of the days that I haven't been able to, do it consistently on Tuesdays. I've just kind of have a new job and I've kind of been very busy with that. So, my biggest thing is just to have a post every week, even if it's, maybe not on the same day, post every week. I made that excuse when I was in college and I didn't post and stuff like that. So I don't want to do that again. I definitely want to stay consistent and post whenever I can. So I'm going to do that. Even if it's a short, even if it's not a long video like this, even if it's a short vid or a reel or a YouTube short or a TikTok, whatever it is, or a reaction video, I just want to keep producing content because that's what you got to do. You got to be consistent. And really, man, if you're consistent, the algorithm is going to reward you in whatever you posting it on. And you're going to have people watching your stuff. So regardless, man, I'm going to stay consistent, keep doing this because I love to do it. And we're going to leave it at that, man. Appreciate y'all tuning in, man. And I will see you guys in the next episode. Naj out. Peace.